We don't see value or merit outside our version of what we are doing because we have not been in the shoes, maybe, of the person doing it for the reasons they're doing it. I'm going to attempt to be the peacemaker around here, so listen to what I have to say, okay? Hello guys, Rex here. Have you ever been accused of hunting for the wrong reasons, man? So, what are some things people will think of when they think of hunting? A lot of people think it's totally unnecessary because, we're in the modern era and you can just embrace modern agricultural practices because modern agricultural practices are so much more humane than hunting. I mean, think of how nice all the cattle and stuff are treated, right? And so there's that argument. There's another argument of like, oh, you shouldn't just be hunting for trophies. You should only hunt for food if you actually need to. You should hunt to get outside. And there's a lot of people, whatever camp they're in, they're going to throw it's easy for us to get stuck into our own use and our own paradigms, really, when it comes to what we are doing, and we don't see value or merit outside our version of what we are doing because we have not been in the shoes, maybe, of the person doing it for the reasons they're doing it. I'm going to attempt to be the peacemaker around here, so listen to what I have to say, okay? Basically, in my opinion, I participated in all different levels of hunting for a variety of different reasons, and so I have a little bit of experience in each one. I'll share those with you and some of the reasons why guys might be hunting other than what you are, but the value in those things, okay? Number one, in general, hunting can be expensive, right? So is it really about acquiring meat? For the family, we figure out how much it takes to buy the rifles, how much to get the ammunition, how much to get into the thing, zero it, get the truck out there, get the gas out there. So a lot of people accuse people of not really needing to hunt to get food. That's not true. You don't see the logistics for people who live in extremely rural areas and communities where it's not, a $5,000 or $10,000 trip to hunt. They can literally just walk a few blocks and they're out of town, and they can use grandpa's old rifle or something they acquired for pretty cheap. And after a course of years, depending on what seasons are available for whatever they're hunting, they can acquire a multitude of meat for their dinner table for their family, while also task stacking, getting outside, exercise, maybe checking on, some people live where it's rural and they might have to do some checks on some things outside, the place. So if you keep your rifle with you as you're doing your other things and you happen to run across some game, there you go, right? So there's a legitimate function right there. If you figure it out after you're past your initial investment of equipment, and a lot of people do inherit that stuff, it is actually a pretty affordable way if you're good at it, right? If you're good at it, to put meat on the table. Some people are real good at doing that. I've done that actually for a long time when I was poor. We would take advantage of the hunting season. And I was absolutely familiar with where it was easy to get whitetails, where it was not difficult to find them or harvest them without a lot of expenditure of other peripheral resources to do so. And I would typically, my hunting season wouldn't last that long. I would go fill in all my tags in like an hour or two because I knew where animals would hang out because I was outside a lot. And it absolutely was worth it, and it saved a lot of money for us as a young couple when I was younger, right? So there's that. What about hunting for sport? Is that an illegitimate deal, right? A lot of people will hunt and you'll see they enjoy chasing down that one buck, right? It's kind of a fun deal. It refines the senses. I've done that too. On my first deer that I've killed with a center fire rifle was a nice mule deer buck. And we were looking for it. We were looking for one of those, right? And it was fun. It was used by my father for the legitimate function to learn the discipline of tracking down a very specific animal. Why? Because it is a skill that is useful for other things. Did we come across other deer? Yeah. But you see, trying to learn the behavior patterns of a very specific kind of critter is a whole nother skill set. And so my father found that to be enjoyable, also found it a way that we could have a bond, we could hang out, and the excitement of trying to find like the trophy, right? It was a game. It absolutely was game hunting, right? Because it was a game. Is that an illegitimate function? I don't think so. I mean, I enjoyed it. Plus, I mean, if you watch people on the beach, if you turn your kids loose on the beach and they're running around and they're appreciating God's creation and they're running across all over the beach and they're finding seashells, and then one kid finds a bigger one. Oh man, they all look at that. And the other one's, oh, look at this one. I found a starfish. Wow. And then they find a conch shell, right? Oh, wow, look, I got a real shiny one. And they're going to marvel at all these things that God has made for us. Some guys really like different animals. They marvel at, like, wow, look at this. Isn't this beautiful? Look at this set of antlers. I want this to be in my living room next to a bunch of other ones. I've got some of my best friends are trophy hunters, and they're really good at it. That it's not always a function of like pride and ego. Sometimes people really appreciate that stuff. They enjoy the game. They enjoy that deal. And just like you wouldn't yell at your kids for like, hey, what do you think, you're cocky because you found that seashell, son? Or just because it's shiny and blue doesn't mean you're better than me. Let them enjoy it. Why do we got to worry about what the guy next to us is doing all the time? If they enjoy that, let them do it, right? Plus, from a conservation angle and some things like that, there are different arguments there on exactly, if that's beneficial to the species or harmful, or if it puts the selective pressure on it, which actually makes the animals more healthy and smarter because the dumb ones get called out because the males are tracked down and destroyed, right? And that increases more selective pressure for the species to be better. I mean, I'm sure the species has plenty of problems the way it is, but these are all valid things. But the main point of what I'm saying is there is a function to people enjoying hunting for game trophies and stuff like that. Do some guys get carried away? Of course, right? Do some guys have the wrong attitude when they find the sea starfish? I found the biggest starfish. You're all terrible. Look at me. I'm going to put it on dry it out and put it on my shelf. Like, look at that. Remember that time I shot the biggest starfish or caught them or whatever? Let them put the starfish on their shelf. That's fun. They like to tell the story of how they found the biggest pearl, right? Pearl divers, like, what are you going to yell at somebody for finding the biggest pearl, right? Yeah, they like the big shiny ones. Why? Because they like pearls. I don't understand the value of that stuff. I mean, chicks like them. They make nice necklaces, I guess, right? Is there an industrial purpose to it? Probably. I don't know. I don't have any particular use for pearls. If I had some, I'd probably put them on the shelf in a little display thing. Like, I don't know what the hell these are good for, but look at them. It was in a seashell. Isn't that an interesting conversation? What I'm trying to zero in on is we should love our brothers who are adjacent to us. And there's bigger fish to fry in terms of what we should be emotionally invested in with what we pick on people for, right? Right? Because a lot of guys who go out with their kids hunting are doing that because it's a game to them. It's fun. In America, 2023, do people really need to do that to feed themselves? No. Not in most cases. Is it healthy in other ways? Yeah. Does it refine certain skills? You bet. Right? But you don't want to see the inverse. And I think some of these sensitivities is what they are. Sensitivities come up when someone has a bad experience of the other side yelling at them for what they're doing. Like the guy who just got like a little, button buck or whatever, that like not giant, huge, crazy antlers, like not Boone and Crockett material. And then you get that one guy out there. Wow, it's not even, look at that small deer. What an idiot. Not even a real hunter, are you? Check out my deer. The antlers are huge. They're ginormous, people. I scored it at 1,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000. Look at that. Now put me in the magazine. Well, the guy who has a small deer then might be like, oh man, those guys are all terrible. It's just the one guy yelling at you. You don't have to hate all those guys now, right? You know what I'm saying? Likewise, the other way around, right? Some people do legitimately just want to get food on the table. For me, that's what it was. I mean, the novelty was never really there for me to trophy hunt for whatever reason. I mean, my father was into it. All my friends had already, and my cousins just kicked my butt at that game. I'm like, well, that's cool. Like, there's no way I'm going to beat them guys at it. So I guess I'll appreciate the ones they get. And, everyone has different things. I'll tell you what, those people who do that are healthy because they're out there. You know the kind of work it takes to try to track down the trophy buck? Takes a lot of work, man. Like, so they're out there all the time. They're watching them, tracks. They're scoping the hills. They're doing recon all summer. They actually got names for the different ones, and they're like, do research and write down in notebooks. It's a discipline that is it like playing Monopoly? Yeah, sort of. But it's a skill set that's really old. And I think that it's a healthy thing to do to get outside. And if your girls enjoy doing that with you, if your little guy enjoys doing that with you, I mean, I don't think it's right to make fun of those guys either, right? So there's that, right? There's a lot of different legitimate functions why people, and some people hunt and don't even get anything. They just like an excuse to get away from the wife. They just want to be in some peace and quiet. I'm blessed not to have that excuse because I like being with mine, and she likes to tag along with me if I do stuff like that sometimes. Or sometimes she enjoys it too because, hey, it is the time of the year. Husband's going to go out. I can sit here in some quiet, not have to wait on him hand and foot because he's so helpless in the house. And I can read my books, so they can read their, whatever Dragon Slayer, I don't know, whatever books they're reading them, fantasy, different planet, elf people, girl books or whatever, right? They can read those. And the dude's like, oh man, I can come out here and I can actually be sweaty and I can, be a man with these other guys and I can fart and I can say naughty words and no one will yell at me, right? So that's a legitimate thing too, right? Is to separate, at times and go out and do the hunter-gatherer gig and just get away from the house. And there's a lot of guys that'll just sit around the campfire with guys, and 99% of their hunting is just sitting there at the cabin like, probably should hunt. And then they go stand there for an hour. Didn't see nothing. Come back and they just drink beer and share stories, right? So those are all legitimate functions of hunting. If you guys enjoy these conversations, man, I encourage you to support us on Patreon. We do have a lot of these things that we do over there. A lot. I mean, I've got a whole list of stuff here, right? If you are in whatever the reason is for you to want to shoot rifles or to do long range stuff or long range precision, we are offering the RX Classroom over on Patreon. That's our training venue, is on Patreon. And so if you want to participate in that training, that's where it's going to be. It's go through the tiers. There's a number of different tiers. Expert tier, VSL. The next one is RX Classroom. There's a couple above that. They're sold out. But the RX Classroom still has slots open. Just to give you a straight up deal, I mean, everyone has their different applications. Some people enjoy shooting, not even with the intention to ever hunt. Some people enjoy shooting without the intention to ever have to use it martially. So what's the function there? Same thing we talked about before. There's a lot of things you can learn by getting good at anything, whether that be playing pool, playing croquet in the yard, growing flowers that you're not going to eat. Is that a crazy thing to do, is grow flowers without wanting to eat them? Is target shooting totally sterile and benign, like there's no purpose to it? Not necessarily. So what is the function of the RX Classroom we're doing? My intended purpose of the RX Classroom is twofold. I am trying to teach a modern martial art from the perspective very much that the old guys would teach the original martial arts, of practicing a discipline that focuses in more on sustaining life than it does on fighting. Any good teacher in any true martial art will have a balance between sustaining life and using fighting to protect it via two-way mechanisms, right? So a lot of guys only want to go towards the tactical fighting side. I have to balance it out there with the Bushido, the mindset, and what we're living for. And frankly, some of the keys over here do not get handed out until we're fulfilled over here. So it's a balanced program that you would see in more traditional martial arts, if you will, where we go through, hey, they're going to spend as much time telling you how to live as they're going to spend you telling you how to poke holes in things with pointy objects. Okay, does that make sense? And my secondary objective in teaching that way is a very legitimate function of long-range precision shooting in a martial arts context is just learning a discipline that demands attention to detail that you cannot fake your way through to learn a multitude of other lessons about life. This is why we send our children to martial arts. Really, isn't it? Is it just to kick everyone's butt on the playground? That will certainly be handed to them once they get past the various other things. There's always other things that are there. Those are the most important things. So it's a balanced approach to what we're doing there. If you sign up with the RX Classroom, what you're doing is you're acquiring all the weapon-specific rifle training classroom stuff that we're doing. Multiple uploads per week, okay? Questions and answers. You can ask me on technical issues if you ever have those here on YouTube. You can find that over there on Patreon through the RX deal. If you sign up on the RX Classroom, I'll answer your rifle questions. Okay, but you have to purchase that bandwidth because there's only enough time in a day, right? And there's a lot of people that want to do that. Plus, just like any martial art, you get what you pay for, man, right? There is such a thing as buy-in and just weights and measures, which is part of the spirit of righteousness and what is decent and right. The workman is worth his wage, right? So that's why if you go send your kids to a karate class, if it's a real karate class, it's not like a community service endeavor, right? So if you would like to participate in the RX Classroom and explore those disciplines from that angle, that's awesome. You'll gain access to the shooting part, but also you'll have access to all the lower tier functions. So the VSL post, you get to see all of those, and the expert post, you'll see all of those, which is really the foundation and the mindset of what we're trying to preserve, okay? So all the kind of rants and discussions we talk about is a majority of what I do on Patreon in general. However, the two training classes we're doing right now, the one sold out, the higher level one is, the two higher level ones are. Because we have a $300 a month peer and a $100 a month peer, or tiers, and they're sold out. But the RX Classroom is a bit more affordable, and that's still available. So if you guys ever wanted to train, that's a good place to start. We're going through the seminar, and then we're going to work our way through a correspondence RX 100, 1000, 3000. And then if you get enough points through the various training mechanisms we have on Patreon, then you qualify for in-person training, which is going to be a lot of fun for those that are going to participate in that. So if you ever wanted to do that, man, that's how we're doing it now, okay? There's a multitude of reasons why we do that, okay? Not just handing out pointing objects, lessons to anybody for no reason. We have to, it's my responsibility to make sure that we're passing it out in a balanced fashion that communicates the point of these things, right? Just like the founding fathers would have done it, right? Just like an army does it, just like a martial arts guy would do it, right? So that's how we're approaching it there. Hey, you want to show off your little toy? What is this? It's like a little barracks.
Barracks?
I think it's a little barracks.
Yes.
Like a little Quonset.
Yeah.
You gonna go take that over to your toys? Go find a little guy to go in there.
Yeah.
Because this is what's important, right? This is the point of learning those things. If, here's a word of caution.
I found the guy.
You found a little guy, gonna put him in there? Imaginary guy, all right, put him in. Put him in, right here. Show him. You got him in there? Little imaginary guy? Okay, down, take him over there. If your objective when you sign up for the RX Classroom is that I'm just going to show you the ultimate ninja death move right off the bat with no discussion ahead of time, with no lessons, so that you can look cool on Instagram because you shot the water bottle at 1,000 yards on the first shot, right? Which is kind of what we're into. It's not for you, man. It's not for you. You can go learn that stuff other places. Maybe not. Maybe we're the only ones that do that kind of deal, right? Because we shoot a lot of clay pigeons and water bottles at distance, right? It's proof of concept that attention to detail and paying attention to facts, the facts of the universe, not how you feel it should be. I feel the bullet should have landed here. Yeah, well, it didn't. See, it landed over here. That means that you did not adjust this amount because something was wrong. We need to go back and fix that. A lot of stuff in society would be fixed if we adhered to the reality principles of physics and mathematics, right? Facts, not feelings, kind of a helpful deal for society. That's the spirit of what we're doing over there. I know a lot of you guys are curious what we're doing. Like, how, Rex, like, people are just going to pay you like $100 or $300 a month just to like hear your crazy stuff? That's just insane. No, we're doing training over there. That's what we're doing. Those that want to know. YouTube doesn't even get the peanut shells of what we're doing over there anymore. It's the nature of how it is, okay? It's the nature of what people learn to value more and things like that is going through all the filters and processes that you would go through if you signed up for anything like that, okay? Does that make sense? Okay, rock and roll. If you want to do that, I'll leave a link below on what we're doing there. What else did we do this week here? Oh, man. Musical weapons of mass destruction. I did a 40-some minute upload just today. It's not, maybe it'll air today, we'll see, on Patreon, I'm not sure. But we're talking about how music has been weaponized in history. You want me to pour you something to drink, little guy? Music has been weaponized in history by like the British Empire and the United States to take down nations, and how it's been used to destroy cultures and used to enhance other things. There you go, little mister. Come here. Here, take this. Okay, you're welcome. So that's an interesting upload. Is it too late to nip the tip? We have a lot of biblical applications questions. People are like, hey, should I nip the tip? Like, whoa, man, let's talk about this first. Like, what is the point of this? Where does it come from? People were asking questions on the Pope's new 10 Commandments. So I have a little bit of a rant about that over there, 23-minute rant. I'm not going to read the title of this one, but that's pretty cheeky. We have one. I'm not going to read the title of that. It's a little top secret. That's also top secret. Hold on. We have questions, a lot of Bible questions, man, because that is part of our foundation of what makes up what our direction is going. Like, people want to see how those things are supposed to function in our life. A lot of questions on those. We have the 60-year-old runaway, right? Talking about people that are evading personal responsibility and personal accountability because they just want to hide in a bush and never get married and never have to deal with anybody. The hermits that just like live their whole life under a basket hiding from the world, right? We talk about that for 20 minutes there. A viable long-range precision shooter triad was the last RX Classroom upload a couple days ago. We also have the function of Jedi versus Yoda in one of our more advanced classes, which is using allegories from pop culture. We have jigsaw puzzle, logic lessons. We have a geriatric Ninja Turtle named Mitch stole my checkbook when I was on the phone doom scrolling video, which is a thing about designated crises and being taxed to support other people's designated crises. Our rant with beer, even. You want another hug? Okay. We have another one, the Crayon Eater rant. You guys saw a glimpse of that. You did not see the entire video. The original video was 34 minutes and 59 seconds, so there's a much larger rant attached to that. We talk about Revelation. Do you need to fear the return of the King? Do you need to fear the return of the King? Everyone's excited that he's going to come back. Are you sure you need to be excited about that? We need to have a talk. Rural life in North Dakota. We have a few of those, like what it's like to drive around up here in the winter roads. Another, do you need to fear the return of the King, part 3, part 1. Some of these have not completely posted yet. I don't have the heart to hit people with them all at once. Too scary. Signal exposure. We talk about, those things like you want to learn about electromagnetic pollution and more dynamics than just one. We talk about that ad nauseum over there. All aspects of it. The ARC's classroom, long range, extreme long range, and ultra long range overview. Basically how they're generally accomplished. We're still in the classroom part. Going through the seminar basically over on Patreon if you ever want to do a seminar class. We're going to talk about what about weaponizing your Bible highlighters. That's a rant. Like, oh, I got my Bible highlighters. Like, be careful. Are you weaponizing that? Are you trying to shift the context? So we talk about some of these advanced concepts that people never think about. A lot of good discussions over there. Back to the 80s, the Vice Corporal FTX AAR. So the after action report of the Vice Corporal on the Real Dope series, Humble Pie on the Real Dope series, talking about the obstacles of human emotion and ego and the formation of small mutual assistance groups and triads. We also talk about eyes inside, the surface danger zone geometry of the ROD/DCP. What's that about? You have to come check it out. Okay? We do music videos with encryption in them, all kinds of stuff. we're not going to say what that is. Gauging critical functions and pep talks, enhanced instruction, Shanghaied by the DCP stories, old school pest control methodologies, all kinds of stuff, man. We're having a lot of fun on Patreon. That's what we've been doing. A good friend of mine asked me on the phone, actually Philip, if you guys remember Philip, he's one of those awesome big game hunter guys that I know that really kills it. He's awesome at that. He asked me, Rex, like, what have you been doing? Is everything okay? Like, what, did your YouTube get turned off or like, what's going on? He says, dude, I'm way busier than I've ever been. I'm on Patreon because, I mean, it's actually a lot better quality. There's a lot more freedom to speak because of a more selective audience. See, it filters out the people that aren't sure they want to be here. So all the silly people are not going to be there because they're not serious. They can't find their wallet. They're 12 years old. They're just in their mom's basement. They're complaining. They're communists. They think they're entitled to everything for free. Those people are not in this thing. So when I have them on Patreon, the people that want to be there, who could find their wallet, that's a filter, man. It's a filter, right? Who own their own stuff, who have principle enough to understand a workman's worth his wage. They're fair. They're not a communist. They do not believe they're entitled to my 20 hours of work per day for absolutely no trade, man, right? Those people who reciprocate their love to me, by being cool and supporting the operation for you guys on YouTube, all these last couple years, we spend all our time over there, like on Patreon. So that's what we've been doing. A lot of all our training stuff is over there right now. It's been a real good time. So he was asking about that. And if you haven't seen it yet, you don't know what you're missing. If you guys are on Patreon and you like to pipe in with your experience, then go ahead and share that with these guys. Let them know how you like it, okay? We do kick people out of the Patreon channel. So there might be a couple disgruntled ones because we enforce standards. I don't allow communists on my Patreon channel. If you exhibit childish, adolescent, communist traits, I will smack you out of my channel because I can do it. I paid you $5, Rex. Nah, that's not, you're not gonna, you don't get to pay me $5 to walk into my house and poop on the floor. I will throw a punch. So we enforce the standards. You're not gonna have to mess around with the foolishness that you would in the commentaries here, which actually frees us up to be able to discuss things of quality freely without outside peering eyeballs of 98% of your trolls and goofballs that would be outside of there, right? That can't find their wallet because they're a communist. I mean, it's amazing how that works. It's called fences and gates. There was a guy with yellow hair that continuously preached on the value of fences and gates. And we all agreed with that until it's keeping us out because we can't find our wallet, right? So, I don't know. It's a lot of good time. You want peanut butter?
Yeah.
Oh, man. All right. I'm going to hang on with the little guy. I'll leave a link below for you. Come check us out on Patreon. Hopefully you enjoyed the discussion. If you enjoyed the discussion and you appreciate what I'm giving here on YouTube still, because I still have this operation on YouTube, You think we all have money. No, I know that some of you actually can't find your wallet, man, so I still put them on YouTube because I love you guys too, man. If you appreciate that, let me know below. Thanks a bunch, guys. Rex out. If you're looking for rugged precision in your long-range optics, check out Arc Optics. They still have a deal going on the SH4 Generation 2 scopes. I use these on everything from 50s down to 22 rifles. They're excellent scopes. Very, very rugged, very precise. They have all the features. Check them out. I will leave a link below. Save $170 if you include the combo pack or use the link to support the channel.